of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 015 Research Methodology for Management Decisions for MBA program. Presenting Block 1 Introduction to Research Methodology, Unit 2 Steps for Research Process, Part 1.
Objectives. After going through this unit, you should be able to 1. Identify the steps in the research process. 2. State research problems clearly and precisely. 3. Formulate the research problem in terms of a hypothesis to be tested. 4. Understand the role and importance of literature review in research. And 5. Perform literature review to solve business problems in the organization. Introduction. In today's complicated globe, every culture is confronted with major social, political, and economic issues. These issues need to be addressed systematically, practically, and rationally, and issues to be solved logically and scientifically. However, a sequential follow process necessitates the acquisition of new information. Research allows for the accumulation of knowledge and wisdom. In other words, a research methodology is a systematic act of obtaining facts, examining and interpreting facts to solve issues that society faces. Research process. Broadly, the research process is a roadmap for the researcher, and it gives an overview of the researcher's research journey. Similarly, consider a traveler undertaking a journey. Travelers must decide where they want to go. Which route they want to prefer is based on a known or unknown path, and they should decide their traveling mode before starting their journey. Similarly, researchers must have clarified two critical questions. First one, what research questions answer you are finding? And after deciding on the research question, the second question comes, how do you find out the research question's answer? Research methodology is the process of determining the answer to your research question. So, to obtain the research question's answer, you must go through a series of experimental stages in your research process. However, the sequence of steps may change or is not fixed in nature. Based on the researcher's experiences, steps may change. Ultimately, the researcher chooses a diversity of methods or procedures for the research process. Research process consists of series of action or steps necessary to effectively carry out research and the desired sequencing of these steps. If subsequent procedures have not been taken into account in the early stages, serious difficulties may arise which may even prevent the completion of the study. Define research problems. 1. Research problem. In general, any questions that researchers want to be answered or any assumption or assertion researchers wish to examine or investigate may be turned into a research topic or a study subject. However, keeping in mind that every question is not feasible to convert into a research problem because it might have difficulty proving it. However, formulating a research problem seems pretty easy for newcomers in a research area, but practically formulating a research problem in a meaningful way is not easy. Hence, it is advisable that researchers must spend reasonable time preparing their research problem. A problem that someone would like to do research. It is anything that a person find unsatisfactory or unsettling. A difficulty of some sort, a state of affairs that needs to be changed. A problem involved areas of concerns to researchers for condition they want to improve, difficulties they want to eliminate, questions for which they want to seek answers. Research problem refers to some difficulty or need which a researcher experiences in the context of either theoretical or practical situation and wants to obtain a solution for the same. In simple words, research problem is a statement of the information needed by a decision maker to help solve a management decision problem. 2. Importance of research problem. Formulation of research problem is the first and most essential step in the research process, and it's more like choosing your destination before starting the journey. Also, it's impossible to conduct a good research study without an apparent research problem because it acts as a research foundation. Moreover, without a good research problem, researchers cannot determine its subsequent steps and cannot choose their methodology, directly affecting their economic plan. 3. Points to ponder on research problem. The following points should be kept in mind while defining a research problem. 1. The right question must be addressed if research is to aid decision makers. A correct answer to the wrong question leads either to poor advice or to no advice. 2. Very often in research problem, we have a tendency to rationalize and defend our actions once we have embarked upon a particular research plan. The best time to review and consider alternatives approaches is in the planning stage. If this is done, needless cost of false start and redoing work could be avoided. 3. A good starting point in problem definition is to ask what the decision maker would like to know if the requested information could be obtained without error and without cost. 4. Another good rule to follow is never settle on a particular approach without developing and considering at least one alternative. 5. The problem definition step of research is the determination and structuring of the decision maker's question. It must be the decision maker's question and not the researcher's question. 6. What decision do you face? If you do not have decision to make, there is no such research problem. 7. What are your alternatives? If there are no alternatives to choose, again there is no research problem. 8. What are your criteria for choosing the best alternative? If you do not have criteria for evaluation, again there is no research problem. 9. The researcher must avoid the acceptance of the superficial and the obvious. 4. Units of analysis. The individuals or objects whose characteristics are to be measured are called the units of analysis. They may be persons, group of person, business establishments, inanimate objects, transactions, monetary units, or just about object or activity a person can name. Some very interesting communication studies have even used words as the units of analysis. Basically, the units answer the question, what object am I interested in? Consideration of several alternatives for units will sharpen one's thinking concerning the appropriate universe. To illustrate the selection of units, consider a manufacturer of small electrical motors who wishes to ascertain the extent to which its potential customers know the company exists. The potential customers are basically business entities, but the units of the universe could also be defined as purchasing departments, production departments, engineering departments, or particular individuals within one or more departments. Again, we come to all the pervasive question of what alternative actions are being considered by the manufacturer. In terms of these actions, who should be aware of the manufacturer's existence? Is the company considering specific acts that might increase awareness levels for certain groups? These are the sorts of questions that should be considered in specifying the appropriate units of analysis. Let us go a step further. Is each unit, however defined, equally important? Or does importance vary with the purchasing power of the potential customer? If purchasing power is the critical item, one procedure is to use the units as established by the prior thought pattern and to weight each by the purchasing power of the entity it represents. With this approach, no difficulty or complexity is introduced in the definition of the universe, but a complexity must be introduced later in the processing. Alternatively, the basic unit of analysis could be defined in terms of transactions rather than in terms of potential buyers. With buyers as unit, the universe consists of person, group of persons, or business entities. With transaction as units, the universe consists of activities as the focus of interest. Typically, in research, we wish to classify or measure the units according to some characteristics. Once more, we see the interdependence of research decisions. The selection of universe units is best determined only in conjunction with what is to be measured. Is the manufacturer interested in finding the percentage of buyers who are aware of the company's existence? Or is the manufacturer more concerned with the percentage of the transactions in the marketplace in which the buyer is aware of its existence? The same type of comparison would be required if level of awareness were measured. Here, it might be average level of awareness of buyers versus average level per transaction. Rupee value would be still another basis for establishing units. These rupees could be rupees expended on small electrical motors of the type made by this manufacturer. The objective would then be to determine the percentage of the total rupee value market awareness of the company's existence. This was very too close to what the president had in mind. In theory, the president wanted to classify every rupee spent as coming from a buyer who was or was not aware of the company's existence. The same arithmetic result is obtained if buyers are classified according to awareness, with each buyer weighted by the rupee volume he or she generates. The well-known management concept of a decision-making unit, DMU, often comes into play in defining the units of the universe. But the DMU is usually difficult to define in an unambiguous manner. A purchase that is a wife's decision in one family may be a husband's decision in another and a joint decision in the third. How does one cope with this problem? A two-step procedure is a possibility. The first stage units are families. Within each family, the decision maker is identified. The units of the problem universe are the DMUs. Any compromised research universe must be evaluated against the concept, including the possibility that the DMU is a group. The following example from marketing will clarify the concepts. The specification of the appropriate DMU for industrial products is more difficult than it is for consumer products. The number of persons who have potential involvement is greater. Job designations do not have the same meaning for all organizations. Responsibilities for ultimate decisions vary with the size of organization, organizational structure, philosophy of decentralization, plus the personalities involved. The question is further complicated by the fact that some characteristics of interest refer to the organization, for example, size, geographic location, and past purchases, while others, such as preferences, education, and attitudes, uniquely refer to specific individuals. The problem definition, whether for a consumer product or an industrial product, must specify the units of analysis. It is better to err at this stage by specifying conceptually correct units that pose difficult problems in implementations. Compromises in the transition to operational definitions can then be better evaluated. This approach also permits the possibility of using different procedures with different market segments or a multi-stage approach in identifying the relevant DMUs. 5. Sources of research topic. In general, humanities, occupational or academic-based study revolves around 4 Ps: problem, people, phenomena, and programs, and the emphasis of each P varies based from study to study. But in general practices, research has considered at least 2 Ps. Every study has 2 aspects area. People provides researchers study population, and the other 3 Ps provide subject area. Research must decide the general area of interest or aspect of a subject matter. Initially, the problems may be stated in broad general way. However, understanding the problem thoroughly, the problem statement should rephrase into meaningful terms from an analytical point of view. The best way of understanding the problem is to discuss with colleagues, experts in colleges and educational institutes with guides for help to find the problem. Researcher must at the time examine all available literature to get himself or herself acquainted with the selected problem. 6. Consideration in selecting a research problem. There are many important things to keep in mind while considering a research topic or problem. These considerable parameters will ultimately ensure their study goes smoothly in a manageable way so they do not lose their motivation. 1. Interest. This is the primary criterion for selecting any topic or problem because the study journey entails many more difficult, time-consuming, and unforeseen problems. So, if the study problem does not capture the researcher's attention, it won't be easy to maintain the same level of motivation for the entire research time frame. 2. Magnitude. A researcher must have good knowledge about the research process, so they can correctly visualize the task involved related to the proposed study. 3. Measurement of concepts. While using any concepts in your study, make its indicator and measurement clear. For example, an investigator wants to measure the effectiveness of a health promotional program, so before starting research work, they must be clear about what it determines and how they measure it. 4. Level of expertise. As a researcher, you have to ensure that you have proper knowledge or expertise for your proposed task. 5. Relevance. As a researcher, make sure your research topic has relevance in terms of your profession, gives values to the current value of knowledge, and acts as a bridge of current research gaps. 7. Steps in formulating a research problem. The following steps will help those researchers who have not even decided their research area, topic, and questions. The following process will help researchers narrow down their vast research area into sub-areas that could become your research problem. 1. Identification of broad or subject areas according to your interest. 2. Separate the broad area into sub-areas. 3. Select one subtopic or sub-areas that is perceived most in interest. 4. Raise a question and list out all possible questions that comes to mind, and if the listed question is too many for a manageable perspective, then follow step 1 and 3. 5. Formulate research objectives and sub-objectives which depend on research questions. 6. Evaluate objective viability in light of human, time, and financial resources. This task of formulating or defining a research problem is a step of greatest importance in the entire research process. The above steps in formulating a research problem can be divided into two activities. 1. Identification or selection of the research problem. 2. Formulation of the research problem. Identification or selection of the research problem. This step involves identification of a few problems and selection of one out of them. After evaluating the alternatives against certain selection criteria, there are different sources from which the researcher can find the research problem. The sources of research problems can be reading, academic experience, daily experience, and exposure to field situations, consultations, brainstorming, and intuition. 8. Criteria of selection. The selection of one appropriate researchable problem out of the identified problems require evaluation of those alternatives against certain criteria. They are A. Internal or personal criteria. Researcher's interest, researcher's competence, researcher's own resource, finance, and time. B. External criteria or factors. Researchability of the problem, importance and urgency, novelty of the problem, feasibility, facilities, usefulness, and social relevance, research personnel. Formulation of the research problem. Formulation is the process of refining the research ideas into research questions and objectives. Formulation means translating and transforming the selected research problem, topic, or idea into a scientifically researchable question. It is concerned with specifying exactly what the research problem is. Essentially, two steps are involved in formulating research problems. A. Understanding the problem thoroughly. The most important way of understanding the problem is discussion with colleagues or persons who are expert in knowledge or skill. The problem is also studied using literature survey. After understanding the problem, it is expressed in more specific terms to make the problem clear. B. Expressing the problem in more specific terms or more clear. Problem definition or problem statement is a clear, precise, and concise statement of the question or issue that is to be investigated with the goal of finding an answer or solution. There are two ways of stating a problem. A. Posting question or questions. B. Making declarative statement or statements. Hence, the steps involved in the process of defining the problem is 1. Statement of the problem in a general way. 2. Understanding the nature of the problem. 3. Surveying the available literature. 4. Developing ideas through discussion. 5. Rephrasing the research problem. The good research problem should meet the criteria of clear and unambiguous, empirically possible to solve, should be able to verify with facts, interesting to pursue finding the solution, and should be able to check the availability of supervision. 9. Characteristics of good research questions. The good research questions must have 4 important characteristics. A. The question is feasible. B. The question is clear. C. The question is significant. D. The question is ethical. Example 1. Consider the following problem. Why is the productivity of Kathmandu metropolis is higher than Pokhara municipality? This problem is too general, so this problem should be expressed in more specific form, such as what factors are responsible for increasing the Kathmandu's labor productivity in 5 manufacturing industries in 2009 related to Pokhara's corresponding figures. This type of problem is specific, and the conclusion drawn through research is considered to be more reliable. Example 2. Management problem. Placement offices has noticed while major companies make annual recruiting visits to campus for engineers, not many national or local companies are formally recruiting business majors through the placement office. Why? How do we address this? Research problems. Why are companies not taking advantage of the resources that the placement service offers? Are companies going around the service? Are companies aware of the UAH placement service? Are companies aware of the reputation of the UAH business school? What kind of things might generate more recruiting activity? Marketing research objectives. To determine to what extent companies are aware of the UAH placement service, determine whether companies, especially locals, are aware of the strong reputation of the UAH business school, to determine whether a quarterly newsletter highlighting UAH business programs and students might generate more recruiting activity. Example 3. Management problem. What price should we charge for our new product? Research problem. What are our costs of production and marketing? What are our price objectives and positioning in the market? What price does similar type of product sell for? What is the perceived value of our product in the marketplace? Are there any norms or conventional practices in the marketplace? Research objectives. To assess the costs involved in producing and selling our product. To determine corporate objectives and their implications for pricing. To examine current prices for direct and indirect competition. To determine potential customer reaction to various prices and the perception of the benefits of owning the product.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 015 Research Methodology for Management Decisions. Course Coordinator Dr. Venkataya Chittipaka, Associate Professor from School of Management Studies IGNOU. Voiceover by Renuka. Edited by Savita. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.